The latest episode of Saturday Night Live turned into one of the most heartwarming and surprising nights of the season, all thanks to actor Glen Powell. Even though viewers showed up expecting funny sketches, celebrity impressions, and jokes about the week's wild news, no one expected Powell to turn his hosting debut into a celebration of the people who supported him on his way up. From a quiet but to an emotional monologue that left the audience cheering, the entire episode carried a very warm and personal vibe. In this long and detailed recap, let's talk about everything that made Glen Powell's SNL debut feel so different, so sweet, and honestly one of the standout episodes of the season. As the episode begins, the usual warning rings out. Do not adjust your dials. Do not click away. It feels fitting because what follows is not a typical SNL night. Powell, who is starring in the new adaptation of The Running Man and the Hulu series Chad Powers, walks into Studio H already with fans excited to see him in this new role. He did appear on SNL once before when Sydney Sweeney hosted last year, but many felt he should have been hosting back then. Now that he finally has his moment, the energy feels fresh and well-earned. Even former SNL cast member Aristotle Athari jumped into the conversation earlier this week, praising Powell's comedy instincts. He mentioned being blown away by Powell's timing in Hitman and shared how Powell brought movie theaters back to life for him in Top Gun: Maverick after the long and depressing COVID shutdowns. He even joked that someone needs to cast Powell in Maverick too. Clearly, Powell's charm has won over both fans and insiders, which is one of the many reasons people were excited about this hosting night. Last week's SNL episode with Nikki Glaser split viewers in every possible way. Around 20% loved it, about 25% hated it, and everyone else landed somewhere in between. But this week felt different. There was already a sense of agreement online before the episode even started. Glen Powell has it. And with Olivia Dean coming in as the musical guest, expectations were definitely high. The cold open this week was built around a very simple idea: a White House press briefing that immediately goes off the rails. Ashley Padilla plays Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson, and the show makes a joke about how it has been a quiet news week. Of course, on SNL, a quiet news week still turns into chaos within seconds. The reporters begin bombarding Padilla with questions not about policies or global events, but about Epstein. This is typical SNL: take a real world discomfort and stretch it into uncomfortable comedy. Padilla's performance stands out because she plays her character with this sweet, almost confused energy while still being overly confident in a fake political way. She keeps claiming to believe women in an overly sincere voice, even though the sketch itself moves in the opposite direction of sincerity. When James Austin Johnson comes in as Donald Trump, once again showing why he has become SNL's essential impressionist, the sketch shifts completely. Johnson is always technically excellent as Trump. Same rhythm, same voice, same exaggerated confidence. But this time it feels like the sketch was stronger before Trump stole the spotlight. Padilla's character was so funny on her own with her awkward body language and fake polished tone, and it might have worked better if she stayed the focus. Chloe Feynman and Cam Patterson also appear in supporting roles, and they add nicely to the energy, giving the sketch some extra personality. However, the real story here is the rising praise for Ashley Padilla. Earlier this week, former cast member John Milheiser couldn't stop complimenting her work. He talked about how she brings this grounded and natural comedic style that makes even silly scenes feel relatable. He even brought up her performance in a fart sketch, explaining how her disappointed reaction was so original that it made the entire bit funnier. He also praised a sketch she did with Andrew Dismukes where the characters had a full emotional arc, which is rare in short SNL skits. He finished by saying he's jealous of the characters she is getting to play and hopes she keeps getting bigger roles. It's clear she is becoming one of the breakout stars of the current season. Then it's time for the part everyone was waiting for, Glen Powell's monologue. And honestly, it's one of the most charming and memorable monologues SNL has had recently. Powell walks on stage with his usual relaxed smile, looking like he genuinely cannot believe this is happening. He starts by joking that everyone must be tired of seeing his face since he's been everywhere this year thanks to multiple movies and shows. But even though he jokes about overexposure, the smile on his face reveals something else: he is truly grateful. Powell gives the audience a quick tour through his long journey as an actor. He talks about working for years before finally getting bigger roles. He even mentions directing a student film where he lip-synced to Fall Out Boy, something embarrassing but cute enough to make the audience laugh loudly. He shares that his very first big break was in one of the Spy Kids movies, which suddenly makes people in the crowd cheer because a surprising amount of viewers grew up with those films. He then talks about how special it feels to stand on the SNL stage. He says hosting SNL is something he and his family have dreamed about for years. He shares a small but sweet detail: he was actually supposed to host 4 years ago for Top Gun: Maverick, but COVID canceled everything. That near miss makes this moment feel even more emotional. But the best part of the night, and the reason Glen Powell was trending online even before the episode ended, was his story about his UPS driver. When Powell first found out he was being considered to host the Christmas episode years ago, he had told his UPS driver during a casual conversation at the door. The driver got excited and encouraged him. They shared a small but meaningful moment of hope. But then the hosting opportunity vanished because of COVID, and life moved on. Now, years later, Powell finally has his dream night. And instead of celebrating alone, he decides to honor that tiny but unforgettable moment. He tells the audience, flew that same UPS driver to New York so he could watch the show live. And then Powell points to the audience, showing him sitting right there. The crowd erupts into cheers. It's a completely unexpected twist, a reminder that small moments of kindness do matter. The story becomes a bigger message. Dreams take time, sometimes longer than we expect, but when they finally come true, we should honor the journey and the people who helped us along the way. The monologue ends on an inspiring and emotional note, with Powell encouraging everyone to keep working, keep waiting, and keep believing. He says there is always someone cheering for you, even when you don't know it. It's sweet, simple, and completely genuine. The rest of the episode continues in the usual SNL style, with funny sketches, celebrity impressions, and Powell proving that his comedic timing is just as good on live TV as it is in movies. But the heart of the night is this story about the UPS driver. It's the moment everyone will remember. It showed a different side of Powell, one that felt deeply human and relatable. What makes Powell's debut so special is the balance between humor and heart. He didn't come in trying to act like an SNL expert or overly serious host. He came in like a guy who was grateful, excited, and ready to have fun. And that energy helped the entire episode feel more connected and more joyful. Whether it was the playful cold open, the confident and warm monologue, or simply the fact that Powell looked like he was genuinely happy to be there, the episode felt like a much-needed refresh. In a world full of chaotic news, online fights, and serious moments, seeing someone celebrate kindness, gratitude, and unexpected friendships made the night feel surprisingly wholesome. Glen Powell proved that he's not just a rising Hollywood name. He's someone who remembers where he came from and cares deeply about the people who helped him get there. And honestly, that might be the real reason this episode stands out among the rest.